We'll start with you.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks everybody for coming, and I want to thank Tommy for inviting me to be a part of the show. I teach at the University of North Florida and teach primarily ceramics, and it's so great to be a part of such an awesome show. There's so much amazing work, and it's such a great cross-section of what's going on in ceramics today. So, you know, our history is probably 10,000 years old in ceramic art history, and so, you know, the majority of it was vessel making, a little bit of sculpture along the way. But the field is changing so fast, and Cody's work is, I think, a great example of that, where things are just moving in a new direction. So, as far as my work goes, I work in 4 different genres of the field. I make vessels, like functional utilitarian ware. I make ceremonial ware, so things that are about the idea of communing with friends and family. So maybe imbibing in a special drink, like I like mezcal, and I think it's really nice to make it a special situation. I don't have one of my reliquaries here, but and then I make sculptural work, and I like make large vessels. So this is one of my sculptures here. It's called Under Pressure, and it's basically a large-scale replica of what happens when you squeeze clay really hard in your hand. You'll get something that looks just like that. So if you take a little chunk of clay and squeeze it as hard as you can, it'll make something like that. It's unique to everybody, but I wanted people to think about what we endure on a daily basis. This was made during the pandemic, and we were all under different pressures. Some people had immediate health needs where maybe a person that was struggling because they were elderly or had some other health conditions or something like that. My hair went from mostly brown to gray during the pandemic. I stressed out hugely about it. But my love for ceramics started when I was a semester away from having an English degree, and I touched clay for the first time and changed my major, and luckily was able to change my major to art, and I became a sculpture major and started making sculpture then. Then I became a potter because I thought pots were great and they really changed people's lives on a daily basis, like multiple times a day. We get to use these pots and commune with our friends and family. So I feel like pots are really, really important ceramic objects, even though sometimes sculpture might get more attention or something like that. But as far as this piece over here, this piece was originally inspired not by 9/11, but it does have those connotations. I've always been interested in structure and what happens when structures fall apart. So I was definitely intrigued by looking at the entangled I-beams of the fallen structures in New York during 9/11. But this piece was actually inspired by me questioning what was happening with my life while I was going up for tenure and promotion for my teaching position, and things got way out of whack. I spent so much time at school, I was neglecting my family and my wife. And so at the end of it, when I was compiling my resume and my dossier, I started to really question what all this work was about and how important any of it would be during, you know, the final days of my life, you know, maybe the final moments of my life, and none of it would matter, right? So I started to really think, like, what does really matter? And so it's like, what do we work towards in our lives to bring people together or have something that's inspirational? And so one day I was watching an episode of Curious George with my sons, and there was an episode where George was learning about zeros. And so zeros can mean nothing, but they can also mean a lot if they're on the right-hand side of a whole number, right? So George figured out if you put a lot of zeros on the right-hand side of a whole number, it means a lot. So he went to the donut store and bought 100 dozen donuts, not knowing what 100 dozen meant. And so he had this whole problem to solve. But in the end, you know, it's about, like, what do we collect? So the squirrel is collecting zeros amid this chaos, and things are falling apart around them. What are we really thinking about? So it could be like, what's going on with the world right now, environmental issues, or whatever you're concerned about. Those types of things, it's just meant to make people reflect on their own lives and what's important and things like that. So that's what that piece is about.
Okay. Thank you.